Yes, thank you, Daniel, and welcome again to the first of its kind uh, Empower Your webinar or Empower Your mission, which is going to be a roundtable kind of movement for nonprofits. We know in the commercial space, there's many of these, but for a very, very long time, nonprofits sort of fly solos. Everybody does some little gatekeeping here and there, and we want this to be a unique, in every sense, kind of experience. There will be a mix of different styles of conversations and interviews. Some will just be questions and answers, some will be presentations. But in everything we're doing, we're really trying to ensure that you're as much a partner to us as we are to you. These are actually supposed to foster strategy as far as fundraising, as far as inter-NGO or inter-nonprofit collaboration and partnerships are concerned. And from time to time, we will be bringing in industry experts to be able to shine some light. As you will see on the slide in front of you, it's supposed to be chronological. So this is not something we just theoretically speak of. We and the speakers we invite are supposed to cut to the chase and tell us exactly what works, what doesn't, and what we can take away from that. So as you can imagine, we've lost a bit of time and more people will be joining. The beauty is that it's being recorded, but let's dive in. So as you can see, right from compliance all the way to strategic partnerships, we want this to be a guide, and this is actually our agenda. So every step you see on this presentation will be discussed by somebody that is very reputable in the respective sectors. Please stay with us until the end, because the Q&As is something you do not want to miss. That's where you actually get to interact. We'll be reading out as many questions as we can. But like I said, even those that don't get addressed, there will be an opportunity for us to share these post-webinar. Thank you. Now, I'm going to start off and invite a gentleman that I have known for quite a bit of time. He works for a company called Status, and they've been around for a little bit, and they have earned their right to be at this webinar, given the work they do with nonprofits. So I'm going to pause at this juncture and invite Mr. Musa Kayondo to take us through the first part. A kind reminder that you do have 15 minutes, because we want to leave as much time at the end as possible for the people to have their questions answered. And thank you again once. I'll be joining you shortly after this. Thank you. Musa, over to you. Musa, we're struggling to hear you. Maybe on mute. Still nothing. All right, so Musa is just fixing a glitch on his end, and should be able to join us in a few minutes. Just give us 2 minutes. Thank you. All right, so we're going to be moving on to next presenter, as Mr. Musa tries to get back online. He will be giving us the gist of the conversation as far as compliance is concerned. So I'm going to move on to the next piece, which looks at visibility, right? Digital visibility. So let me just share my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me know when you can view it. Just kill my video. Could I get some feedback on whether my screen can be seen?
Yes, Edwin, can see your screen.
Awesome. So we will get Musa to discuss or walk us through the compliance part. I'll be covering digital visibility. And what you see on there is really something in the tiny words, you can see something that that says visibility is credibility and the first step to donor engagement, right? So this looks at all things, putting your mission out there, letting it get known. And that's really where any collaboration, any conversation start to get seen. Are you making an impact? It's one thing, but it's another thing if you can tell the world about it and you can let the world know about it. I'm Edwin Moise. I'm a data scientist with Telistic Technology Services. And we have been around for almost a decade. And we play in a number of spaces. Mostly, or for the longest time, we've been in the commercial space. But we also nowadays play in the non-profit space as well. We have three main categories of our services. We handle devices and hardware. That means anything to do with computers, servers. If it's tech and it's hardware, we deal in that. We deal with capacity building. That means not only do we build, but we also do a lot of trainings, both in the tech space and in the digital marketing space as well. And then, of course, lastly, we do impact analytics, which translates as impact analytics, but on the commercial side is actually analytics as well. We handle data, analytics, and AI on the other aspect of life. So those are broadly the three main categories of our services. We also have a wide range of clients. I have to point out that we do have offices in Uganda, Kenya, the United States, and a team in Ghana as well. So we have a wide range of clients, both local and international. But for the benefit of this webinar, we do have non-profit organization clientele as well. We have Chabira, we have Theory, that is in Nairobi. We have hospitals. We have a wide range of non-profit organizations that we work with, both regionally and internationally. All right, diving into the topic that I will be covering, which is digital visibility, which is about making your mission discoverable. And that's a very interesting narrative because it can't be under a bushel. You can't be the only one that understands this mission. And also, it's not just something worth noting or worth knowing about. It's what sells the organization because it's what your organization and the work that you're doing as a nonprofit actually stand for. On Hello, can you still hear me? There's a bit of activity interruption. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, sometimes my network lags, so let me know when you lose me. Yeah, so why do donors give? It's a question I've asked very many colleagues, acquaintances in the nonprofit space. Why do donors give? Because so often we spend a lot of time focusing on our why. Many nonprofit organizations have a deep understanding and they spend so much time crafting why they do what they do. But if you come to think of it, do we take enough time as nonprofits to understand why donors end up giving us or why they end up supporting our causes? If we miss that, then we end up not speaking the right language, and that's where the disconnect comes from. In fact, I believe, whereas true, there's a common notion that funding is drying up, there are more competing causes and the likes. One of the other issues that we overlook so many times is that donor interest is probably just shifting to another cause that is better explained and is better meets what they hope to achieve from the giving. Some of the reasons why donors, when I mention donors, I refer to both local, international, individual, and non-individual, right? So there is the internal which means people feel good when they help out or when they give. There's recognition. People like to be recognized for the good work they're doing. This is extremely vital when dealing with commercial entities as well. One will wonder how some nonprofits are able to partner with commercial entities while others struggle too. It's because on top of the good hearts of those people, there should be a logical motive that compels them to give. One of them is recognition. It's a good form of marketing. If you partner for a big cause, your organization buys goodwill from the public. Then we have, community and peer pressure. There are those movements that are happening. Tax incentives is again very important when you're dealing with commercial entities. And also, especially if you're having donor partners in the US, there's a 501c nonprofit status, whereby by donating to particular charities, both individuals and non-individuals can qualify for a tax deduction. Then the last one is impact, which is actually last but in no way the least. Many donors give to make an impact. So understanding why they give and the motive behind why donors give goes a very, very long way to rationalize why they give, but also it allows nonprofit organizations to craft their message better. Because if you do not meet any of these items, or if you're oblivious to why they're giving, then you're most likely going to end up in this exact situation here, where you're both the donor and the nonprofit are speaking, but no one is communicating. We have the nonprofit over here. She is saying, "Help me." The donor is responding, "Can I help anyone?" or something of the sort, in the equivalent of Spanish. But until there is feedback, until you're speaking the same language, you are merely speaking and not communicating. And we've seen this in our experience in so many communication strategies, in so many branding and marketing strategies, where it's one-way megaphone kind of communication from nonprofit organizations. You're constantly putting on blast all the work you're doing, but without understanding the audience that you're hoping to attract. And that's why many times a lot of branding and marketing and awareness drives bring out very, very little fruition by way of moving donors to give, or by moving the community to give, or to take part of any action, because you're merely speaking, but you're not communicating. Right. So let's just debunk the general understanding of the general ratings of nonprofit organizations. I'll say it varies from place to place, from country to country, but generally, I'm not going to dwell on the figures and the budgets over here, but nonprofits fall basically in 5 different categories. There's the startup, there's the emerging, operational, mature, and scaling. So as a nonprofit, when you look at this, you want to ask yourself, where do I most likely fall? Why is that important? Because once you identify where you fall, you can now start to hone down on the strategies that can move you to the next level. You can start to hone down on what you can leverage at a particular stage to be able to grow your nonprofit and to be able to make sure that you represent yourself as a more credible and a more visible organization. I know many organizations in East Africa, nonprofit organizations, fall within the first 3 categories, either startup, emerging, or operational. We do have and do work with mature and scaling, but from the analysis we did for all those that registered for this webinar, we are going to focus more on the first 3 stages, because those are the stages where visibility and credibility count for a lot. Okay. On. Daniel, just checking that still audible.
Yes, Adrian.
Yes,
Audible.
yes, I can hear.
Awesome. So, in line with what we agreed to walk through this webinar, we wanted to, as Stellistic, focus on key areas that attendees of this webinar and all those parts of the Empower Your Mission movement can take away. If your organization is within the first 3 stages, right? From startup, within the first, this one is specifically for the first 2 actually, startup and emerging nonprofit organizations, right? If you for all those that registered, you will recognize that we asked whether you have a website. Thank you for responding. Almost 90% of nonprofit organizations do have a website, which is a good thing. If you are an emerging or a startup nonprofit organization, resources are typically are going to be finite, and there are a number of different characteristics. A single founder, the founder wears many hats. You will find mostly relying on volunteers, very fluid in operations, and usually 1 or 2 kind of donors that are working with you. So many organizations in this state are usually having finite resources to operate. So we felt it's important to try and show you the chronological order within which you can better represent your organization without burning a hole through your bank. And the first spoiler we have to say is, no, you do not have to start with a website. The websites are generally misunderstood to just wave a magic wand and then everything starts to click. Whereas they're extremely important. It's worth noting that there are like 5 or 6 different types of websites. So it needs one to understand why you did a website and what kind of website you're going to do. Otherwise, it will just be another thing that sticks on the World Wide Web and nobody ever visits. So the chronological order is, and many organizations probably have done this, create or revise the organization profile. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your focus group? What are you into? Why are you taking part of what you want to do? Having this in concise written down version creates the blueprint for you to constantly reflect back on. And it's also very great for attracting partnerships, because when you speak to somebody, say, send me your organization profile. And up to that point, you've not burnt a hole into creating a website whose specifics you do not know about enough yet. The second is secure a professional email domain. Again, many organizations rush to get the website, and then you get an email from a nonprofit organization, using a Gmail. This goes a long way to differentiate a serious or credible organization from one that is probably just still on its knees. And it also sets the tone right away, because when you receive an email from so-and-so at your organization's name.com, it sets the tone that this is an email from that organization, but then also it makes you that much more credible and more serious as an organization, or towards the people that you're sending the email to, right? The third step would be design a data capture, storage, analysis, and reporting plan. One would say, haven't we jumped on too quick? Many times, because it's a small organization, you cannot work without collaboration. You will have your web designer having pictures somewhere, you will have your photographer, you will have your freelance writer working from somewhere. It's your 2 or 3 members of staff of the organization, but you have some freelancers and volunteers and that kind of thing. So what you need is a repository where all this information gets secured. Because what happens as people start turning over, then you start losing bits of your information, and nothing shouts discreditable as an organization that is having this missing data, or that cannot have data to verify the impact of the work they're doing. The third is understand the document your target. Understand and document your target and existing donor landscape. Again, many people overlook this, or many non-profit organizations think they have a good bearing of who their donors are, but many times they do not know them thoroughly. That's why I intentionally put that word thoroughly, because it's not enough to just know the name of your donor. You need to know the type of organization they are. You need to know their interests. You need to know their board. You need to know what else they fund. You need to know what their vision is. The reason that's important is so that to grow your funding landscape, to grow your partnerships, now you can profile that donor, and you can, with a lot more accuracy, look for more donors like him. And that's where many organizations struggle to grow beyond the single donor, or the single church, or beyond just that one, because they got that one and have taken no effort into trying to profile other donors like that. And it has to be written down, because from time to time, you need to go back and superimpose your strategy against that donor profile. Some organizations go as far as even creating a dummy name for that donor. So if we are planning to do XYZ, will donor W be able to understand this? If your donor is from, say, Japan, and you're running this whole drive in strictly English, will they understand that? Are there social issues that they will frown upon while doing your campaigns? You need to understand them well enough so that you don't get caught out. Setting up organization, then the other is setting up organizational socials and polish the staff ones while tracking that performance. Again, this is really difficult because people have to resist the urge of quickly getting their website done. We as Stylistic strongly recommend LinkedIn. I believe in the coming webinars, we should hire or get on board some good experts that can debunk the power of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, the biggest in terms of market value and in terms of opportunities, business social media platform that's there in the world. And when I say LinkedIn, or when we speak visibility or marketing, there are 2 types really. There's inbound and outbound. A lot of organizations stick to inbound. So you sit by your computer waiting for that email from somebody you know, or you send an email to somebody that you are referred to. That's all inbound. Outbound marketing and branding is really all about identifying, having a strategy to reach out to that person who you know nothing about, by just basing on the funnels and the strategies that you have of that landscape. So LinkedIn is important. You need to you will need to set up a professional profile for your organization, but social media wouldn't be social media without people. So as the founding member, as communications lead for your organization, as a board member, you would need to polish your profiles too. We had the chance to visit a number of profiles on the registrations that were here, and very few are utilizing LinkedIn the way it's supposed to be. So obviously, there's a paid version or premium version, but you can still do so much with the freemium. And our hope is that all those that are attending would actually go away with this, polish up their LinkedIn profiles, draw up their strategies, so that when we bring a guru or an expert that will discuss, outbound marketing for nonprofits, you are actually at the level where you're ready to consume that. We don't want to leave anybody behind. Then the last, finally, you can set up your website. I'll tell you the first 4 steps, the first 4 or 5 steps are just a fraction in cost of the final cost of the website. And yet the website will remain static if all the steps above are not done. Why? Because all the steps above are what is going to help you influence the design of your website. It's going to help you drive traffic towards your website. It's going to help you understand what to put onto your website. So if you already have your website done, fair enough. You couldn't make that saving yet, but now you need to go back to the steps preceding the final one to start to run an audit and organize yourself. And even after you have your website, many people let it just stick there. There's such a thing as web analytics. You want to start seeing what works, what doesn't, and that kind of thing. In fact, many organizations don't have a blog on their website, which is a real pain, because all the stuff you're putting out on social media should be linking back to your website because you're driving traffic. All right. Now, as I come to the end of my presentation, Telistic was tasked with also coming up with, yes, we know where we can start. How can we partner with other nonprofits? So we have a start. If you remember the stages we talked about for the different nonprofit organizations, like I said, we are focusing really on the startup nonprofit pack all the way to the operational nonprofit pack. The startup nonprofit pack, we have an offer out for nonprofits that is going for the stuff that you see here. One key thing that we are not oblivious to is many nonprofits say we do not have the money to, purchase all these fancy tools. That's granted, right? Because very many suppliers or distributors like Telistic will have a minimum order, typically to get you an Office 365 business license, get you training. Many organizations like us will sell that on its own at a premium, and they'll say maybe you have a minimum entry point of 10. And then all this other stuff, it will be another agency that's selling it to you. So what we have done, we've said, no, you do not have to get professional emails yet for all members of the organization. Get one person that is usually reaching out to donors or potential donors or handling the marketing. Buy only one license for them. And on top of that, Telistic will do a free half-day training on all the Office 365 tools. One would wonder, what are those Office 365 tools? Those are the ones that are going to allow you to actually achieve the data capture, storage, and collaboration tools in there. So you'll find Microsoft Teams, you'll find SharePoint, you'll find OneDrive, which is online storage. But if you are having your Google Drive and the equivalents of those are fine too. We must point out though, please let it be organization owned. We've had so many issues or reports where nonprofit organizations are being held at ransom by somebody that formally set up, their shared storage on a personal account. So anything within, depending, we will range within 700 to 1 million, but we will focus on at least one member of the organization, preferably the ED or the CEO or the founder of the organization. And we will not only set you up with all the things you mentioned below, but we will take time to train you on being able to set up your organization. It also takes time to understand and craft your marketing or digital plan. We will also do one for you and oversee your setting up of LinkedIn, both the professional and the organizational. Please take a professional picture. LinkedIn is your digital representation to the world. We'll take you through all this for between 700 to 1 million, depending on what your needs are. Then the other is for the emerging, which is the people that check off all these things and they say, we have an in-house communications person, we have all this strategy set up, we have a LinkedIn setup and all that kind of thing. Then we are happy to do capacity building for members of your team, specifically around digital marketing and certification. This is by ICDL, which is an international entity. And the instructor led, if you want to work with people like me and work with people on the team, where they give you some extras on how the job is done and how the work is done, it will go for only 600,000. And then the self-study would be 450,000. Obviously, these have been heavily discounted for non-profits. And again, in the spirit of partnership. Then the last is if your organization is beyond operational and you're a big organization, you're a mature organization, then we go into our forte, which is data-driven project collaborations, data analytics, capacity building, etc. And for those, you can just, because a lot of them are custom requirements, please feel free to reach out for a free consultation on what your needs will be. Lastly, before I move to the next stage, is really this webinar series about partnership. So we encourage you to partner, whereas Statistic partners with all these organizations, we want to partner with each and every one of you, and we don't want to stop there. We want all these organizations to partner with each other above all else. Thank you very much. I'm going to be, for those that have just joined us or joined us along the way, we have moved up to the digital visibility. Mr. Musa will come and give us the compliance part when he gets back online. But for now, we're going to be moving to local fundraising. And this is an area that has not been fully utilized by non-profit organizations. For too long, we've been looking to the West for funding, not because we don't have good-hearted or good-willed people locally, but because we are not speaking the same language as I mentioned earlier. Because now you have to look at commercial entities. How do you partner with them? How do you partner with your community? As it says here, your community is your first investor. Why do you spend so much time convincing somebody thousands of miles away of your cause when the people in your locale do not understand it at all? Our next speaker is somebody that has mastered the art of both international, but especially local fundraising. I'll let him say a word or two for himself, but at this juncture, I'm going to pause and pass the mantle over to Mr. Geoffrey from PACT. Mr. Geoffrey, you're welcome. Just want to check whether there's no technical issues and you're able to hear us. So I noticed actually from Musa that in case any of the organizers has joined from an account that he hadn't initially registered with, you may not be able to unmute yourself. So Mr. Geoffrey, if you just raise your hand on the, my colleague Daniel should be able to unmute you and grant you the rights to share. Daniel, is that so?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mwise. Apologies for the delay. Sometimes your plan and technology will just act a little bit funny. I'm honored to be part of the speakers this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Kayondo Mohsin Musa, and I am the operations lead at Statis Initiative. And my work is really focused on sitting between the client and the internal team, but also sitting within the internal team to make sure that optimize how workflow happens so that we can be able to deliver the best value for our clients. So Statis is an accounting, finance, and business advisory firm, and it has been in the business for 11 years and counting. And some of the sectors that we play in include the non-profit sector. They include the education, hospitality, and others. And our footprint also spans both local and international. Just a minute. Right, and our footprint spans both local and international work. And we are also a Zoho consulting partner in the region, actually. And we've had the privilege to work with a couple of entities, Lessons for Obedience. These partner with some entities here in Uganda. It gives 100 tackles post-harvest loss, clean the work in Kenya, South Africa, Uganda. Have Classrooms for Africa. It has built over 600 classrooms, classroom blocks in Africa, and Adonai Guest House, Burger, the ones that we have coming from the right downwards being some of our local partners or companies that we work with. And our model really is focused on remote accounting and bookkeeping work and those consultancy services. And why? Because we identified a gap in the fact that the small, emerging and medium organizations, be it nonprofits and businesses, struggle at that point in time to have full-time accountants sitting in the premises and on a monthly wage. And so we came into this space acting remotely, playing the remote role. And the benefit to this is that we get to be able to assist these entities grow, and they get to be able to have the advantage of the talent pool, because if we're working with you and taking on your project, then that means the whole team has a role to play in your project. So all the way from the senior accountants to people doing the bookkeeping to everyone else on the team. And that is why you find that we've been able to work in the nonprofit space in that regard. So I'll dive right into helping us understand how to build our trust and funding readiness through financial compliance. There's a paradox in compliance. There's a question of whether to be or not to be, and it's an equivalent to the chicken or the egg. Which one came first? And in terms of compliance, there's a question on, do you first raise enough funds and grow, and then start to implement compliant practices? Or do you set out from the get-go, implementing compliant practices, and then they help you grow and be able to even raise more funds, right? Most times, our perception to this is that it's a big burden, it's time-consuming, it's an administrative burden, and it's costly. You have to write all these reports, have all these meetings, write all these minutes, a bit of documentation, and we find it as a little too much. However, without this, there's a credibility gap that is created, right? How are we to know that you're not just another briefcase organization, right? So for donors and for the people the stakeholders, even those that need to benefit from our services, as we try to create this social impact, because our return on investment is not the profits, but the impact, then we need to be able to show and exude a lot of credibility in our work. what happens is that when people are when organizations are non-compliant, it's very easy to even have mission creep. Because, for example, in Uganda, when you're operating an NGO or CBO, you need a recommendation letter from the district NGO committee, clearly highlighting what activities you're going to be doing within their region or their district. So imagine if you're sidestepping all these things, that means that one day you can start out as someone you're trying to do access to safe water, and then the next day you realize, wait, there's something about gender-based violence. You shift to doing that. Before you know it, you're now taking care of orphans. So compliance really helps you even focus your mission better. And we know for a fact that there's a couple of non-profit organizations, NGOs, CBOs, that are also struggling to even have their licenses, operational permits renewed, particularly annually as expected, because they are avoiding all these, they do not tick these boxes that the statutory bodies require of them. So what we're saying as Statis is that change your view of compliance into seeing it as a trust multiplier. If you have 3 people that trust you, then the 4th may come on easily. So if you have clean audited books, if you have that operational permits from the NGO Bureau, then the chances that you're going to get people who will work with you are very high, because there's a lot less fact checking for those that want to partner with you, because they see that the entities that have oversight over you trust you in that way. And interestingly for us, part of our experience in this space, especially in the international footprint, has come from the fact that we have partners that are funding some people here. And at a given point in time, the donor-partner relationship was starting to turn sour. And so because of that, they called us in to come and make an assessment. And the next slides that I'm going to be sharing come from that angle, understanding our experiences as a non-profit organizations here, and then what they eventually equate to in terms of the donor concerns when we are not compliant. With inconsistent financial reporting, just this year in October, just very recently, the International Non-Profit Accounting Standard was actually published. And Kenya, our neighbor here, is one of the countries that have announced that they are going to adopt this. So because we are, you're doing this project, you're doing it in Uganda, someone else in India is doing a similar project, you have competing causes, but the donors want to compare impact for financial health to know who to support better, then it is good for you if you can be consistent with the standards, either of your country or international standards. So I urge us to take keen interest in this. It is new and has not been maybe adopted a lot, but where we're going, most likely you'll be pushed off the table immediately if your reports don't sit within this space. As we start out, we're initially very small, and there's lack of segregation of duties. So we have weak internal controls. You, the idea or the vision bearer, probably pick up a few of your friends and family members, and you start to try to get this to move, and you put on multiple hats. So because you're a small team of 5 or 3, you're the director, you're the procurement officer, the other person is the programs officer, and so you sign for the money, spend the money, account for the money, the same person, which donors flag off as a lack of financial discipline for your organization. So the relevance of having people that can have oversight that are independent, for example, like Statis, when we do the remote services, that gives more confidence to the donors in how you're handling your financial aspects.
Yeah, Mr. Musa, I'll just come in here, mostly from the interest of time, but also just like, what are the top 2, in your opinion? What are the top 2 things that a nonprofit should look out for that are very damaging as far as compliance and can really damage their donor relationship? What are the top 2 items, if you just call those out?
All right, I'll call out the poor grant and fund tracking, because donors really want to know that their contributions are used as intended. And this one is a very, very big source of mistrust. If I know that I can give you, you've fundraised all this money to construct a classroom block. Next thing I know, you're saying you bought a car. That is really, really going to cause a lot of mistrust. And
But if like it, many organizations don't struggle. Like we keep track of the items. They are somewhere, maybe in an Excel. When asked and given that some of these things translate into, is it necessarily a big issue? Because if I'm helping children and the children need food, I would think a partner would be able, or a donor should be able to understand that, and it's just a matter of explanation, and they should be able to understand that, not necessarily that I'm going to go buy myself a new car.
Not really, because sometimes you have restricted funds that come in and they need to be used exactly as intended. But also, sometimes you may have multiple people contributing and they have specific causes that contributed towards. So they would prefer that, you not get donor A's money, which was meant for project B, and use it for project C, which project C only presented to donor X. So that becomes a little confusing in that space.
How can we fix that?
Then, so can I go to the second point then?
No, I'm just gonna peruse through because we are running out of time. That's why I said, give us, as nonprofits, give us 2 items that you believe we need to watch out for, and then move to the to your other slide, or I'll ask you some of the questions because we're running out of time badly.
Yeah, great. So let me speak about the reporting, and I want to match this with the manual bookkeeping and limited tech use. So we have donors struggling from audits that are very lengthy. And but then again, we also have them struggling with reports that come half-baked, or them having to be the ones to say, we didn't get a report this month, right? If you have to send your report and they say, did you see this? Can you make it a little clearer? You send it back, they send it back to you, because there's a lot of back and forth. That means that they're poking holes in your transparency and accountability. Many a time, this translates also to the manual bookkeeping and limited tech use, because then audits become lengthy because you're just looking for the receipts. The auditors end up first doing your bookkeeping before they even start your auditing. So these are key things that we need to look out for, because in terms of financial compliance, they really make you reputable. Your ability to have properly audited books, your ability to have your reports clear and precise and in time, timely reports, monthly, quarterly, the updates matter a lot. So I'll say that those for me stand out. And in that regard,
absolutely,
I'd like to.
Yeah, if you can conclude, because I want to, sorry, I need to move to the very quickly to the next speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So as that is, how do we want to work with the nonprofit organizations in this space? First, we will have pre-finance compliance consultation. Please email us, and we can be able to assist in that space. If you scan the QR code that is on your screen, like I said, we have Zoho consulting partners, and we have pre-Zoho books set up. QuickBooks, on the other hand, online is a paid for, but Zoho has a freemium version. So for Zoho, we can be able to do that for you. And discounted year-end accounting and audit services for us to be able to exude that confidence and grow our reputation. I'd like to conclude by saying that compliance is the bedrock of trust, and trust is the currency of fundraising. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please do get in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, Musa. And apologies, we've had a lot of technical issues that have made us really, really bad for time. Mr. Musa, if you can share that link for Zoho, that would be fine. Mr. Geoffrey, are you on? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to quickly rush to the next speaker. Mr. Geoffrey? Okay, so we'll have to circle back. Yes. Mr. Geoffrey, are you able to unmute yourself? Or we can circle back to you later. Daniel, should we move on?
Yeah, I think let's move on to the next one.
as we try to resolve his issue.
All right, that's fine. Let me just reshare. So if you've noticed, we've handled compliance, we've handled credibility and visibility. Mr. Geoffrey will join us for local fundraising, but more importantly, we had promised to discuss sustainability, and nothing speaks sustainability like an organization, or nothing tests sustainability like an organization that has been able to survive and remain vibrant for a number of decades. We have with us Ambassadors of Hope, an organization that has been around for over 4 decades and has impacted or educated over 55,000 children in Uganda, and has founded so many other sister organizations to this day. They focus on education, as their director will be telling us, but more importantly, they are running a hybrid whereby they do run on donations, but they have a sustainability model as well, because their schools allow for learners to go through the system and pay as a commercial entity. So because of that, we felt they would be the champions for sustainability. With us, we have the director, Mrs. Robina Lubwama. Many know her as Mama Robina, if you'll allow me to use that name from time to time as well. Mama Robina, are you with us?
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. So, quick question, and we're going to be really, really quick because our time is fast spent. Many organizations discuss sustainability. What is sustainability to you? What's your interpretation as an organization that has been around for so long? What should we take as sustainability for nonprofits?
Sustainability is a project which supports the work when there is any dwindling of funds. It is a continuation of the work that was started by the donor to last for a longer time, and it is for more impact.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And then the other follow-up question I had was, how has Ambassadors of Hope been able to incorporate sustainability into its programs today? Just briefly walk us through that.
Ambassadors of Hope started schools, and these schools are both income generating and also for service. We have children that pay in full, parents that pay in full, and we have those who don't pay. Plus, we work with other organizations that have the same mission as ours. We come together and we make a solution as to how we can help children be in school. We also work with the community, parent, and the child.
All right, thank you. My second last question would be, how do you balance business principles with nonprofit values? Because many organizations fear to be seen as, creeping away from their goal. It's a very bad brand if an organization is viewed as one that is trying to make money instead of supporting its cause. So many just shy away from the cause altogether. How are you able to juggle the two to run a business while also supporting the nonprofit arm within the same organization?
Thank you. I have to remember to articulate the vision. Non-profit values and missions guide me not to be diverted. Mission and vision guide me in decision making. one has to use business strategies to make a profit, but still be able to support the program. We have a board, a good board, and very good accountants. We ensure that the team understands the organization purpose, work with the community again, parent, child, and social workers. We allow our values to help the children guide us in decision-making.
Right. What advice would you give a nonprofit founder that is out there and is wondering what they can start with? How can they make their organization? How can they add sustainability to the work they're doing? In a quick word, what would you advise them?
First of all, one has to ask what your vision is and what your mission is. And what you can do or what you want to do must align with the mission, with your mission. Remember that your main goal is not to start business. Know your call well, have the right people around you. And business is not your destination, but a detour to the destination.
Thank you, ma'am. Lastly, how can organizations here partner with Ambassadors of Hope? Because the movement of this webinar is to foster inter-organization partnerships. How can organizations here work with you? You have schools that you're running, you're into justice, you're into child education. Are you open for partnerships with local organizations? And then B, how can they partner with you?
Like I mentioned, we have several schools and we also have sister schools. So what we do, the organizations come together with us and we plan accordingly. They tell us, they get to know our weaknesses and we get to know theirs and their strengths. So we put it together, then we are able to come up with a solution.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador of Hope, for taking part and for the great work that you do. I know I've received many shouts out from Fields of Life, from Sage Humphrey, from Subi Organization, from Luero West Child Development Center, from Amazing Grace Child Development Center, and from Living Water Ministries. These are all organizations that you've partnered with to provide affordable education for children, and we commend you for that. Thank you, and it will always be a pleasure having you. Please, for those organizations here that want to reach out, the contacts are here, but you can also drop something in the chat for the Q&A. And our commitment with this movement is to ensure that we get you in touch with all those that you need to partner with. Thank you very much. All right. Again, just checking back on Mr. Geoffrey before I move to Mr. Scott Lambie.
Yes, Edwin, I can hear you.
Alas. Geoffrey, thank you. I'm sorry about the technical issues, but we're going to quickly peruse through what you have been able to share with me as a fallback in case the technical issues happen. And, as Murphy's Law says, everything that can go wrong will most likely go wrong. So I'm gonna go really fast with this, if you allow me, Mr. Geoffrey. Just tell us in like 3 sentences what PACT is, and then I'm gonna have some of the questions that are coming from a lot of the nonprofits here today.
Well, thank you so much, Edwin and Itaristic, for organizing this webinar. It's really a timely webinar. My name is Geoffrey Chinaro Samakura, and I'm the Executive Director at PACT, INIFOR, Partners for Community Transformation, which an organization that has been around for 3 decades now. And the PACT is dedicated to addressing structural inequalities that hinder the potential of young people in Uganda. And we are committed to advancing our economic inclusion, social protection, and personal development for the adolescent people in Uganda.
Thank you, Geoffrey.
We-
I'm gonna cut to the. Sorry, did you have?
Yes,
Sorry,
please
just
go on.
complete that
Go on.
before I jump in.
Okay, I was saying that we are operating nationally, but currently operating in 7 districts across the country. We are based in Nansana, where our head offices are, but we also have our main program office located in Mityana. Thank you.
Thank you. Geoffrey, now you are covering the area of local fundraising, and it's a jigsaw that has been puzzling a lot of nonprofits in Uganda. From the outside or from the commercial space, it makes very little sense to us that we look to the West for help, as though government, as though commercial entities in Uganda and our very communities do not want to understand the causes that we're explaining, or just do not care enough. You mentioned, at least when I read up, that you've had success working with government, for example, partnering with government. What does that take? Just briefly tell us, if you are to point out bullets. If I'm a non-profit and I want to start working with government or Rotary or any other commercial entity in Uganda, paint that journey for me very briefly.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. First of all, it is very interesting to see how you, whoever organized the flow of today's presentations, because the first two presentations, which one of them you made about the digital, and then the one which was supposed to come first, the compliance first. And there's a very good slogan there, something that you mentioned: before you raise funds, you need to be fundable. Now that raises the issue, and of course, when you also come into the digital visibility. But you asked about the government, and the compliance is one thing, which my colleague did explain about that, because unless you are complying with the government, there are regulatory issues, registration and all that, tax requirements and all those. That's the first step. But then after you have done that, how do you go into to raise money? You mentioned somewhere, as we see that the first investor within all our programs is the local community, and then government is one of our local community that we live with. We have the government right from the LOC1 to the top offices. But to say we have for example, the district NGO monitoring committees. We have the local, the sub-county level engagements. We have all this. And for us to be able to, there's no way you can successfully implement any program, raise any resources, work with the community, unless you have been recognized and known and you are fulfilling what you're supposed to do, but also working hand in hand with the local communities, the local government. We are talking about the CDOs, we have the community development officer. We are talking about the SARS, the sub-county, secretaries, and all those. So they need to be aware of what you're doing, but also support you in designing a program. They link you to the community. They know the resourceful people in these communities you work with. So you need to get in touch with them. You sell your program to them. They appreciate, they contribute in designing the program, and then they link you up to the resourceful people on the ground. Then you start from there, the district to the national level. One mistake, as I conclude on this point, one mistake that NGOs like us always make, we don't want to start from national level, and they would believe that everything is at national. But the resources we need, the connection we need, the knowledge we need, the contributions we need. However much we need contribution from the ministry technocrats, they are there. I appreciate all that. But the people on the ground, starting with the government, they know what they do. And lastly, each district has, for example, the district development plan, then the annual maybe district development plan. So everything that we design as CSOs, we need to tap into what are the needs of the district. You will come with water. I mean, if you're working on education, for instance, you will come with paying school fees for the students. But when the needs of the district is not about paying school fees within their plan, maybe there's a school that collapsed, maybe there's a school that doesn't have water, so they need you to intervene with it. So we need to tap into the needs of the governments, of the local governments, and that's when they will appreciate more our contributions.
Thank you. Geoffrey, I'll be blunt. Where does the money component come? At what point does government or the community actually contribute to the cause? Because whereas many nonprofits buy into including the community and all that, yes, my cause might not be directly in line with the district or the national development plan and all that kind of thing. But how do you get to the point of who contributes within the local community? For example, in your journey, you've mentioned all these entities, but I also know that these entities work on national budgets, they work on all those kinds of things. How do you avoid the under the table deal making and sometimes, the tendency for local leaders to make themselves kingmakers and solicitations? How do you maneuver all that? And if you could say this entity is worth the effort, what entity in government would you say? Would you say government is where we should be focusing, or more like some of the work that you've done, deal with Rotary and the likes?
Well, thank you, Edwin. Those are quite many questions in one. But I'll begin with the one for money. You asked where's the money. I will turn that into the resources. I will say where are the resources, because I don't want to only focus on the money. A reason being, as we implement these projects, as we get into these engagements and so on, we are so keen on the number of resources. There are quite a number of resources, and this can range from unskilled labor, can range from the local available materials, can range, of course, go up to cash and all that. And when you ask me where is it, this money, all these resources are within the people that we serve. I will tell you that the people that we support have a lot of money. I will tell you the staff that you work with have a lot of connections and resources, our boards, our beneficiaries, and all that. I'll just give you a recent example. Recently, PACT just celebrated 30 years of existence, and we had a big event where we invited partners and all that. And in this event, 90% of the budget that we used was raised by our staff only. We just encouraged our staff to raise for money, and they went on, they raised this money, and we were like, wow, where would I have gotten this money to make this big event? They raised over $10,000 US. So, and that it may be easy someone to really ignore the capacity of your staff. They need salary. I mean, they need you to give them money. Where would they raise money from? So the money is within our teams that you work with. When you go to the local communities, for example, at PACT, every time we are doing our projects, we encourage the communities to contribute towards all the projects. I mean, this is something that sometimes is talked about by many civil society organizations, but the question is, do they put it into reality? And then how do you plan for it? Because it doesn't come out of time. You really need to understand why local fundraising matters a lot. It helps you to reduce the external, of course, donor dependence and all those, builds ownership, but also sustainability. So you need to understand that. Understanding your local donor landscape is very critical. Then you map it out, like I've talked about these people, what can be contributed by the government, what can be contributed by the beneficiaries, my staff, and all that. And then doing the support, how do we bring them on before we go into actual fundraising and then bring them on board? So for us, I would say that the money is within the people we work with. The beneficiaries make great contributions. For example, we do a lot of water projects. They do a lot of local materials, bricks, timber and sand and all that. And also the government, all these other level, they support a lot with skill, with the knowledge, training. They have a lot of experience in that. So they can support us in those areas, giving what they have, the skills, the training, and building on strategies that we are undertaking, but also promoting the projects.
Thank you. Mr. Geoffrey, thank you very much. And from what I'm picking really in summary is that, you can't overlook compliance, you can't overlook your local community, even if it's not cash alone. Resources, they will come in handy with other resources other than cash. And those are things that really come to play. But again, the $1 million question for a lot of nonprofits here, many small, many emerging. How can they partner with you? Give us 2 areas where you are happy to partner with other local nonprofit organizations, not in terms of necessarily resources, but in terms of maybe skilling, in terms of water. If I have an organization in northern Uganda and I can come and I want to say, could we have some water, a water project? Are you open to that? quickly tell us how
Yeah,
can we partner?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think I want to thank Telestic as we come to the end of this particular topic, but because today, as we speak, partnership is actually more strategic, highly needed than ever, given the challenges of the the fundraising landscape and all this. I love the fact that you are starting up these roundtable discussions. They are very critical and supporting organizations at all levels, startups and all that at sustaining level. But I'll go back to the that question. I will drive it to the slide that you have actually put there. We are implementing our programs anchored on 3 pillars, like I said: economic activation and inclusion, social protection, and personal development. Now, all in these 3 pillars, as pact, kindly go back that slide. As pact, we cannot be able to deliver fully services in all those 3 pillars individually. So we work with a number of stakeholders. Number one, for example, when you see about the personal development and leadership, looks like something small, but it's very critical and cuts across all our programs, because we are dealing with young people. It's quite important that these young people are empowered, their skills are strengthened, they are connected, they are linked. So we are building a network kind of channel, a referral network, where that we can be referred to in the different areas, but we can also refer. So we would want organizations to come to us, or we would want to partner with organizations that have something that they can tap into our services, but we can also tap into their services. For example, we can do joint implementation. You are working in schools, maybe you are supporting infrastructure development, and then we can come in and do water projects in those schools, because we do a lot of water in schools, and that's where our focus is. You could be doing something in a school, and then maybe we can come in and do, let's say, building the libraries, supporting the libraries, and for you only paying school fees. So it is kind of an integration of services. It's all networking, meeting and discussing, and seeing how we can work together to deliver a joint mission.
Thank you very much. We're going to be sharing your contact details. So non-profit organizations on here that want to partner in any of this work, please reach out, and we're going to keep the conversation going in our forums. I also ask you to look out for our monthly newsletter, where there will be areas where all these organizations like yourselves, all the ones attending, please, we're going to be collecting areas you're looking to partner, so that on a monthly, you can look out for areas where you can actually partner with each other. Thank you once again, Pact, and thank you, Mr. Geoffrey, for being so kind to take part. We hope this is the first of many, and we'll keep having these at minimum on a quarterly if this goes well. I'm going to pause right here and then quickly move to our final presenter. If you have been following, really, we've gone right from compliance, visibility, local fundraising. We've moved to sustainability from Ambassadors of Hope. Now we are going to move we're going to move to the final, which is really partnerships and fundraising. I request that you bear with us as we steal somewhat of your time, maybe another 10 or 15, so that we can have the last presenter walk us through, of course, due to the technical issues that we had at the start. Mr. Scott Lambie, are you with us?
Yes.
All right, thank you for bearing with us. It's these technical issues. I think as most speakers come, unfortunately, you're the last one, but I guess we are getting the hang of it as time goes. So hopefully the upcoming ones will be better scheduled. Mr. Scott Lambie, you are from Rescue, and you have been in Uganda for a long, long time. I'll let you introduce yourself, but before we go into that, I'll just say Jevale Koseru.
Kale Sebo, Yevale.
All right, so Mr. Scott Lambie, you also tell us your African name, and then debunk for us you tell us a little bit about Rescue One More, and then we'll have a few questions about fundraising and partnerships specifically. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Edwin, thank you for putting this together, and the presenters have done such an amazing job. I'm sitting back modifying what I'll have to present based on how comprehensive the previous presenters have been. My name is Scott Lambie, and right now I stay in Texas, but went to stay in Uganda with my family back in 2009 to 2016. So I was there for 7 years. I understand the Nsenene are moving right now, and so I'm anxious to get back. We went to Uganda to work mainly with the African Children's Choir. Mami Rabina and Ambassadors of Hope were a big part of those partnerships there. And I love Uganda. I love the food. I love the culture. I love the people. But as we were staying in Uganda, you know, the need for help with children arise many times. And over the years, we ended up adopting 3 children from Uganda, 2 girls who at the time were around 11 years old, 3 years apart, but came into our orbit about 11 years old. And both of them had been abused sexually before coming through our doors. And it was a problem that we saw through our ministry, through the ministries we were doing on the ground and through the government. But we saw this problem arise, and one of my adopted daughters named Vanessa, who now lives here in the US, when she got to her 20s, all of the trauma she had been through and all of the past experiences she had been through led her to a moment where she wanted to tell her story so that she could break the silence and also help other children who are experiencing sexual violence back in Uganda. And so that's how Rescue One More was birthed 4 years ago. And we're working on that problem now. I think my task is to talk about partnerships and fundraising. And this is a problem that is very vast. 1 in 3 girls in Uganda experience sexual violence by the age of 18, and 1 in 6 boys experience it as well. And when my daughter was going through this trouble, she had a very difficult time getting help from her grandmother, the community, and she was suffering in this situation up until the point that she had to leave home and seek help from police, had to stay on the streets, and it was a very difficult path for her. She went to the police, and as she reported the problem, had to speak with several people, was bounced from office to office, just a young girl seeking that help with no way to know how to navigate it and no support from the family. And so there was no safe place. And you can just stay on that slide, Edwin, as I speak. But as she was moving through the system, there was no safe place for her to stay. So the police offered her a jail cell to sleep in. But eventually they arrested the uncle who was the perpetrator, and the following day he was bribed out of jail, and then she was left alone on the streets. The probation officer in the area was able to get her to his office, and we just happened to be there that day. And he asked us if we would care for her as he searched for a family. And so the situation for a child who's experiencing sexual violence is very similar across the board. And as we've launched into Rescue One More, we've found that story is repetitive over and over again. And so we wanted to put something in place to support these children who need help. And Rescue One More was born out of that. Partnerships are extremely important. And as we were looking for solutions, we modeled what we're doing now after the children's advocacy centers here. And the Children's Advocacy Center model is being adopted around the world, partnering with bringing together all of the relevant agencies that need to deal with this cause. And so in Uganda, we're working on the community level with district probation office, police chief, the CDO, police surgeon, state attorneys, and typically some executive sponsorship like the district mayor or the division mayor, who will all come in, and we form a team amongst all of those different agencies so that their roles are represented and carried out in a unified fashion. And so we go through a formation process of creating a memorandum of understanding where we outline roles, responsibilities, communication processes, intake processes, to make sure that each child that needs safety, justice, and healing receives that through those different offices. So the partnership side of it for us looks a lot like a government partnership, and to our somewhat surprise and to somewhat joy, these agencies have really come on board to tackle this issue. I think almost everyone in Uganda has
Is it because you are Mzungu, or is there anything else beyond beyond that?
I think everybody knows, like, is the Mzungu is there, there's some other motivations going on, and I think also when you're working in an environment, and any environment, you can take the lemons and turn them into lemonade. And at the end of the day, our hope is that we're there to receive a child. And there's dynamics, obviously, but with all of these people working together, there's a level of accountability that has curbed some of the corruption that you might see in all of these realms. And so when someone is arrested, Rescue One More is holding the case file, and we're able to ensure that perpetrator is held, because the corruption side of things has to go through too many levels for that person to be released. And so our intervention is still has many wrinkles to iron out, but as we've seen, the perpetrators are being arrested and they're being held, and we're able to provide safety and healing to these children. And so those are our goals, and we're going district by district through Uganda. So partnerships are extremely important. We're not able to address all of the issues that these children go through. Some come to us pregnant, some come to us infected with HIV, some need surgery, some have been severely trafficked and housed in prostitution. And so we're looking at other NGOs. We have a dozen NGO partners on the ground who can help us with children who are in crisis pregnancy, children who have been trafficked, children who.
How does that work? How does that work? Do you then pay those organizations when you say partnership with all these other entities? Let's drill down to how that partnership actually works. Do they use their funds and pay off from where you have left in a particular area of their specialty, or do you fund them to assist with cases of their specialty? Just debunk that for us.
No, actually, we're working with NGOs that are already funded to carry out their mission. And so if we have to refer a child from a crisis pregnancy standpoint, the NGOs that we're partnering with, they're funded to help children who are in that sort of situation. Often we'll go with a care package with some, you know, with some sort of depending on the partner and what they might need as a kind of almost a little appreciation and start off package, will refer a child and come with, you know, some of the basic needs that they would have normally resourced from that partner. But we're not providing ongoing funding for most of those service provider partners that we have. We just try to show some appreciation with the startup, and then they take over, and we still monitor the situation of that child as partners.
Thank you. And maybe my last question on partnership really is, if I am running a medium or small nonprofit, and I'm thinking partnerships with other nonprofits, maybe that, you know, similar scenario as yours, how does that work on paper? Am I reaching out with a request? Do I have to meet the country director? Do I do an MOU? Just walk us through the paperwork side of things. Is it a known partnership, or is it, you know, a friendly inter-organization? When you get one, we send one, whatever the case. Does it have to be in writing for these partnerships? Do you advise for some kind of MOU to happen? How do you avoid tripping over each other? And some
Yeah,
other questions I'm laying on you. Yeah.
No, I think all of those things, Edwin. I think my, you know, kind of my experience and advice to everyone here is start at the top level, country director or director level, and you know what you're looking for is a win-win situation with partnerships, and how can you come to an agreement that is a win-win situation? In some cases, that might mean your partner will completely take over, we're completely funded, and this is our mission, and so as this child comes to our doorstep, we take over. But all of those things should be clearly defined in some sort of MOU. For us, one of the main things that we're looking at when we're creating these partnerships is the child safeguarding policy of that organization. And as you're walking around assessing a new partner, are you seeing the safeguarding policy being implemented in the physical world? Because a lot of these things exist on paper, but then you don't see them in the environment where you're working. So yeah, we're looking at those service providers that are going to uphold a standard that we would expect for our own organization, and so you can assess it on paper, but you also can assess it in real life. And MOUs are very important to make sure that that everybody's on the same page as you're operating together, and those make those partnerships work very well.
Does partnering with these organizations only have to be local, or can a local nonprofit say, I'm going to look for a partner, you know, elsewhere, maybe internationally or regionally? Have you run into any partnerships that are transcending the local geographical boundaries of Uganda, for example?
Well, there are partners, financial partners. We have service provider partners on ground in Uganda that are international organizations and local organizations. And so, you know, the international organizations have a presence here, and we're able to interact with their directors that sit in offices in the US, but some of them are also local to Uganda, and our team on the ground in Uganda is interacting with their directors. Most of them, you know, are working in some way to provide a need for a child, and if it lines up with what our children need, because we can't handle all of these issues, or we would just become a very unfocused organization. There's been a lot of cooperation, especially tackling this problem. People want to see this problem come to an end, and so we've just really enjoyed working with partners because everyone's working to a common goal.
Thank you. My second last question to you is, when do you say no? For example, you look at a scenario where there's been a child that needs help, she's been abused, she isn't going to school. Of course, your part is really the advocacy part. She probably may need some food, she may need some accommodation. There are so many interlocking areas. How are you able to draw the line? Of course, the partnerships play that role, but how do you guard yourself at avoiding mission creep and to stay within your mission and vision as a team?
This is a very, very interesting question, Edwin, because you know, the entry point for the children into our program is like they're coming from the gates of hell, and some of them need very comprehensive help. But you know, I think you constantly need to be casting the mission and vision to the team. We provide safety, we provide justice, we provide healing. And it's very, very difficult. I mean, for our team on ground to go out to a child's home who, you know, they've rescued the child from a sexual violence situation, arrested the perpetrator, but the child is in a slum shack and has, you know, no schooling, there's no food there. It's very, very difficult for our team to look at a situation like that, and we have hundreds of cases. You know, we're bringing in right now, working on 40 to 50 new cases per month. Most of these children come from extreme poverty. Our teams all have a heart in their chest and want to help as much as they can. But if we don't remain focused on the safety, justice, and healing, then we won't be effective in combating this vice. And that's something that we just continually need to cast vision with our team about.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But if you'll allow me to just dive a little into fundraising, because all this stuff sounds nice, but you know, it takes resources to run these organizations. With your permission, if you allow me to just move to the next slide. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, you can move to those slides, I think, after hearing what other people have laid out.
Okay.
And I mean, you can show those. I wanted to maybe show people how we've grown the organization over the past 4 years. It's a relatively new organization, but you talked about scale, and you talked about knowing yourself as an organization and where you fit. We have hit the operational level after starting up 4 years ago and moving across that scale that Edwin put out there for people. And he also talked about knowing your donors. And I really loved the presentation on local fundraising as well, because you know, when we moved to Uganda in 2009, most of the roads were still tattered with potholes, and they were mostly dirt roads. Like, you just see a development in Uganda, an economic development that's unprecedented. Like, you would never see a BMW in 2009 running through the streets of Kampala. Now you see luxury. There's money in Uganda, and it's like a lot of these issues are local issues, and it's like local fundraising, I think, is something that everyone should be focused on tackling. But that was a great presentation. I think if I could, in the short time that we have, impart something on top of everything else that has been prevented, I would take it back to something that I learned early in my career. And I came up through sales and marketing in high tech in the US before moving into any sort of nonprofit world. And when we're fundraising, it's effectively sales. I mean, fundraising is kind of a nicer word than sales in some ways. But what you're doing is you're effectively selling yourself, your project, or your cause. People give to to projects, they give to people, or they give to causes. And those can all be intertwined, but as you're working with funding sources or donors, they're looking at those sorts of things like, am I going to fund because of this person? Am I going to fund because of this cause? Am I going to fund because of this project? And it aligns with me. And so getting to those points and knowing your donors and developing relationships are extremely important. Knowing where you are in your level of development and what to ask for is very important. I would say make all of the asks that you have in alignment with the ultimate need. So with that said, I'm going to go to something that has served me extremely well through sales, marketing of tech equipment, tech software, and into the nonprofit world, and leave you with a takeaway. And it's a very simple process to run things through. There's no magic button that anyone can give you to successfully fundraise. But when you step back and want to start training yourself to be an effective fundraiser or salesperson, there's a book called Spin Selling, and the author is Neil Rackham. It's a very simple read, but will help you tremendously as you're framing all of these things. And SPIN is a very simple thing. It's an acronym for the situation, for the problem, for the implication, and the need. And I can explain those quickly, Edwin. I know we're short on time, but people can easily source this book, and it will take you to another level. Situation. So as I was kind of explaining Rescue One More, I was walking you through the spin. And it becomes natural after you start practicing it. But here's the situation in Uganda: 1 in 3 children experience sexual violence by the time that they're 18 years old. 1 in 3 girls. The problem I laid out along with the why. So we talked about why, but the situation is very personal to me, and so I wove the situation and the problem that exists on the ground through a personal story about my daughter, and the problem being no access to help and all of the inefficiencies and lack of guidance that she had throughout the process. The implication of that is that children will just give up; they won't even try. The perpetrators don't get arrested. Justice isn't carried out if there's not an intervention. And so the implication of the problem are all of those things. And a lot of people will go from situation to here's the problem that we're addressing to here's the need without addressing the implication. So SPIN is situation, problem, implication, and then ultimately what is the need. So the implication is a very important step in outlining where you're going or what your intervention is overcoming before you present the need. And you can take that framework of situation, problem, implication, and need and run all of your communications through that framework to make sure that you are effectively getting from one place to another and taking your donor, your website, your online communications, your social media, filtering it through that process where you're addressing one or all of those things, but staying on target to eventually arrive at the need. And so I would highly recommend to everyone, after seeing all of the material that was presented, to just get that book, Spin You might even find a PDF if you search it up online.
We
It's
will
been
be
out for-
sharing a link. We'll be sharing a link in our newsletter that's gonna go out. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott, and for all those that have soldiered through with us. Very much important that you stayed with us amid these all the technical issues, and it's not in our character to go well over beyond time. So we're gonna take a stop here. Daniel, are there any burning questions, or would you rather we just send this to the respective speakers for today and then get them addressed in the Q&A for the newsletter?
Yeah, thank you, Edwin. I think don't have questions in the Q&A section. But if someone wants to ask a question, they can raise their hands. I can then unmute them, and yeah, they can shoot it out.
Maybe just 2 questions if anybody has to ask. The rest will keep the conversation going. We recommend, I see there's somebody has raised their hand. Daniel, if you could quickly unmute them, and then maybe 2 participants. and
Yes.
then-
Yeah, active hands have allowed you can unmute yourself. Yeah, please go ahead and unmute yourself. I've allowed your mic too.
Maybe he or she can rate it in the Q&A.
Right.
All right. Danny?
Yes, so I just wanted to say that you can follow us on our socials, LinkedIn. I'll paste the link in the chat just now. And then look out for the recording to be sent out tomorrow, and many other resources that was used for this webinar. So thank you for participating. Edwin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much once again. This is the first of many. Please do tag us, do reach out to us with questions or areas of partnership that you might be interested in. We will be having a dedicated area in the newsletter for all those entities that are out to partner, and we commit to continue bringing different keynote speakers in their areas. All of you here are, gurus in your own area. So please, I hope we can get the conversation going, and we hope we can have you representing to your fellow nonprofit organization leaders what you are doing as well, really well. So thank you once again, and God bless. Have a great evening for those in East Africa, and a great morning for those the world over. Bye.